So many people understand the power of the mind and how being in this uplifting state, both the mind and the body, the whole, I call it energetics, right, is essential in attracting positivity around you because you are the cause of the effect in the outside. So many people are becoming more aware of the spiritual dimension of life, the conscious manifestation. Some people call personal creation of a universal law of attraction. You attract who you become. So the outside circumstance, situation, consequence is a mirror, a reflection of how you are energetically vibrating at the molecular level. Now, in this video, I want to share with you one of the most important perspective and practices that I have sort of observed to focus on to be able to accelerate that being the cause of the outside. So many people know the power of positivity, right? Many people understand intellectually about the law of attraction, universal law of attraction. So we are vibrational being, and the thoughts that we think produces the feeling in the body, and how you feel, the emotional level that we're in becomes the cause, the law of reciprocity of manifesting, creating our surrounding. Yeah. But however, many people don't know how to stay in that state when some challenges arise in their life. So we call this contrast, right? Contrast in life is something that appears to be negative, shows up in your life. You thought that you were doing good, and then some sort of adversity, challenges, problems, consequence that makes you feel stuck appears, and then even though intellectually we know that staying in that energy of positivity, staying in the energy of the fulfillment of the desire, staying in the energy of the manifestation of your desire is essential, but we sort of lose that attention to what we know, and we get sucked into the negativity, going to this emotional home of worry and doubt, anxiety, or some victimization, saying why this is happening to me. Yeah. Now, the key to overcome that, because anybody can be positive and uplifting when things are going well. The beauty, the true practice of this conscious manifestation is to find your state of being when you come across contrast. How do you cultivate the state of being that is uplifting and expansive when you run into a challenge and problem? I'm going to share that in this video. So let's just call that something that appears to be negative a contrast, right? We call it contrast because when we come across something that we don't want, right? That something that appears to be problematic or challenges or something, those are things that makes us feel a little contracted or feeling stuck, like stagnant, right? It feels like it's not allowing you to move forward, and you don't feel the flow of it. It could be in your relationship, it could be your business, it could be in your health, it could be some pain in the body, whatever that is. We call it contrast because life is a relative realm, so there's gonna be positive and negative. There's gonna be both, right? And contrast means that the negative things that you see as negative are something that you do not want, right? So when you come across and meet something that you do not want, it will help you to clearly see and understand what you do want, because what you want is always the opposite of what you don't want. So you can contrast it. Yeah. And when we begin looking at the contrast as a gateway to go and lean into what you do want. So let's talk a little bit more about this situation, consequence, explanation from a spiritual point of view, right? What you want is an intellectual idea and thinking in your mind. You say, I want this, right? You think using your thoughts. But there is this desire in your heart that you feel. We call it heart's desire. Heart's desire is present in your body and you feel, you get drawn to. Then intellectually you start thinking, oh, I want that, right? One is the process of intellectual. The heart desire it, right? Why the heart desire it? Because there's an urge of the soul seeking expression on this earth plane. So the soul that is you arrive on this earth plane, given a physical body and gifted with the mind. The soul has an assignment and a mission to fulfill. And the nature of the soul is forever seeking expansion, expanding more and more and more. The playfulness, curiosity, the sense of expansion, ease and flow, all those qualities that allows us, the mind body, to feel good. Feeling good is a essential quality of the soul. So there's this, knowing, deep knowing that wants to express. And the favorite part of this line for me is that the soul is forever seeking fuller expansion, right? Why do we say fuller when full is full? Because there's no end to the fullness of it. It's an infinite fullness, so the soul is forever, because the time is eternal, seeking fuller expansion. And that urge of the soul appears in your heart as a desire. And the heart desire appears in your intellectual mind as this is what I want. So the fulfillment of your want is to respond to the calling of the urge of the soul. So then let's go back to this contrast topic, right? There's something that you do not want as a contrast in the physical life. Contrast allows us to focus on what you do want, so you can direct and redirect your attention to that. And what that really means is that you are aligning with your heart desire. And what that really means is that you are now aligned with what you're called to do to expand the urge of the soul to a fuller expression. So what that really means is that every single time that you come across and run into contrast, you choose, using your perspective, to see as an opportunity to allow the urge of the soul to express in an infinite manner. Yeah. So because if you know that the life is happening in a way that it's supposed to be happening, right? The idea in the mind that goes to why this is happening to me is more of the limited human mind perspective. But if we understand that the power, the infinite power that is currently operating, as you watch this and as you listen to me, currently operating in this entire universe is present and living inside of your and myself, each cell in the body, because we are one, then we can lean into this idea that whatever the contrast that appear in my life is temporary, and then I, the individual self, has an ability to choose the perspective to turn that into an empower expansion by leaning into what is it that I do want more of, so I can enter into my heart desire in a deeper way to be able to meet and respond to the call of what the soul is, the urge of the soul, what we are here to do. So that is how I will recommend to begin looking at every single contrast. What that really means is that every single thing that appears to be negative, you see that as an opportunity to respond to what the soul is being called to express. and it might take a little bit time to get used to that process, because what happens in the meantime is that we are spiritual beings, but also we are animal creature. What does that mean? It means that our biology is wired by the defense. So when there's an immediate threat, psychological threat in the outside, the brain and the mind is gonna go to a little bit of fear place, because the biology is wired to go there so that we can protect ourselves from any physical danger. Yeah, but if you understand that that is the mechanism, and the underlying essence, fundamental of who we are, is the spiritual being, we can shift our perspective quickly. Right after we had a moment of impulse of the fear, right? But we can shift away from that and then look at the contrast that we know faithfully that it's temporarily, and it's appearing for us, through us, to grow into create something deeper. Then you start looking at contrast, negativity, from a completely different point of view. Yeah. And also, when we begin looking at from that perspective, and then begin inviting all the contrast, and also we can say when we begin embracing all the challenges, because what we often when we are in that biological state, we tend to resist against negativity, therefore it persists. What we resist, we persist, yeah. But then when we turn the gear from resisting to embracing as an opportunity to move or express more of the soul by using the contrast to lean into what we want, to the desire and the urge, then it becomes our grace and the gift. What we persist, what we resist, persist, what we embrace becomes our grace, and we start using every single contrast as an opportunity to return home. Home is this expression and urge of the soul that is expressing, wanting to express in a fuller dimension. Yeah. So whatever that challenge is that you might be currently facing and experiencing, how can you navigate your mind first to step back and not to be absorbed by the fear, anxiety, and then begin moving into what is it that I want instead, and putting all the energy to the want. Now, let me say a little bit about how also people get stuck. Many people, animal creatureness tends to focus on the problem, tends to focus on what they don't want, right? Because by focusing on what they don't want, they feel safe focusing on it. Because if you don't focus on it, you might feel like you get absorbed and you're not prepared. That's why the biology, the animal part of you, wants to stay focused on what you don't want to prepare for the fight or battle, whatever, right? But because the universal law of attraction tells us that who you're becoming and what you're focusing on and how you're vibrating is the cause of what you attract, if you stay focused on what you don't want, you will never able to shift out of that. So we must learn how to let go of the attention to what we don't want, and know that when you shift your awareness and begin focusing on what you do want, and focus on nurturing and creating, right? It's like a giving water to that seed of the energy of either what you don't want or what you do want, right? The more you're paying attention to what you don't want, it means that you're pouring water to what you don't want, and you're nurturing that thing that you do not want. But once you identify that is not what I want, you shift and pour water to what you do want. And when that starts becoming expansive, you will notice that what you don't want or what you didn't want start dissipating and fading away on its own. You don't need to know how that things that you don't want would fade away. because how is not our business. Once we start paying attention to what we want to nurture and create and grow, because you're in that energetic rhythm and resonance, things that in alignment with that energetic resonance of what you want start showing up. And because you're no longer in the frequency of what you don't want start dissipating and fading away from your circumstance, meeting the cause that is you, which is the new vibration frequency of what you do want, and that is the expression of the urge of the soul seeking fuller expansion. So shifting your awareness from what you don't want to what you do want, and nurturing, and then letting go of the idea of wanting to know how that change is going to happen, you will be surprised how different opportunities, synchronicity, circumstance, and things start falling into place to exactly experience how you are creating your feeling inside. The energy is interesting. It doesn't have any linear connection, but it just falls into place magnetically when you are in that energy. And the key is to let go of the how and let go of focusing on what you do not want. And when you begin focusing on that, then you start expanding your expression of what you're here to do. So I hope this is helpful, and I will see you in the next video.